Greetings and welcome to the energy of Capricorn. This is Ron from Tarot of the Twin Sun. Tarot of the Twin Sun is a functional division within the Order of the Twin Sun. Please take only what you will. We shall continue with the very end of our reading, which is encapsulated through the 10th house. Okay. So the 10th house is open, and with the 10th house, essentially is a culmination of goals, ambitions, dreams, desires that become materialized in the human experience, okay? And usually what happens is resonant peaks that occur on the flat space that come up in the form of mountains. These resonant peaks are essentially karmic in nature. They're a form of action of the various elements that exist in this plane of existence and culminate. And on the spiritual path, essentially, it has to do with karmas and seeds that are sown within the earth, okay, and culminate to something in terms of the great wealth or the great sort of junkyard of our existence. And the sort of irony is that a lot of this, it speaks about evolution, human evolution, and the evolution of the existential. What we can experience as humans often culminates in the 10th house as a selfless experience wherein you can be a sort of a champion or a pioneer of all these energies and see and dominate over them, or you can retract and then take the other mythological route within the archetype, the representation, the animalistic representation of Capricorn, which is part goat and part, it's an amphibious goat. There's a part of it that's based in the water element, okay? So it speaks of also the mystery of the 8th and the 12th houses, okay, which is about transformation by going through the depths in order to escape, but also into the 12th house, but also dissolve, essentially, the element of earth, which is the opposite of water. I mean, you could say it's also fire, but what happens here is a retreat within the energy of Capricorn to go into the 4th house. Okay, and from this, there's a capacity to also attract others who would help you with an escape mechanism for the karma that you are pulling forward, that you are manifesting as a key manifester. Cardinal Earth brings forward through the 10th house a lot of this, and they bring forward opposites, other people, significant others, who are designed to be a type of escape vehicle or a catalyst for deeper resonant understanding, deeper knowing, the spiritual path, also the path to liberation through the 4th house and the triplicity of water. That's the 8th and the 12th as well. Yeah, and you know, it's kind of strange because like a lot of couples, a lot of especially men and women, a lot of who becomes father within the relationship has a mother next to them. That becomes their roles. So it's like Capricorn is Saturn, it's the 10th house, the father, okay? And then it pulls in the opposite, which is the mother or the queen, as opposed to the king of the 10th house. So it's a very interesting coupling that goes on. Anyway, before I get further lost than that, Tarot of the Twin Sun is a functional division within the Order of the Twin Sun. Please take what you will, only what you will. We'll go ahead and begin with a small reading in terms of the energy of Capricorn for the month of September 2022. And then we'll go into the Great Mirror. Okay. There is a way in the month of September that has to do with finding the voice to call your ground what it is. Okay. Um, there's also something about this particular karma that has to do with the settling of accounts in the past. Whatever has been set in the past in terms of its ending, especially when it comes to expectations of what you've been doing, what you've been working on, and perhaps something has not come to fruition, there's an ability for you now to let that go, okay, and transmute it. Essentially, it's a transmutation from the Seven of Pentacles to the Seven of Rods. Now, what does this do? This allows for a choice to be made after tension, after the collapse of something. Okay. Now, the choice is yours. You can either take the path of Mercury or you can take the path of mutable fire of Leo. Okay, so that's either the fifth house or the sixth house. So, the question is, what are you devoted to? What are you really devoted to? Are you devoted to the past projections of an expected mind, of an expected way of doing things, of how you saw yourself, okay? Or to drop that angst and to look to the future and how to see what has been sort of the modus operandi for the past month, okay? Because Leo opened and triggered for you 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the eighth house. This has to do with a stasis, a period of transformation. Okay, within the triplicity of water lies the energy of Scorpio and the eighth house. There is a way to move from the seventh to the eighth to sort of bring forward a center point where you are on one end cutting off ties from the past, and in the future there's a way for you to pioneer and engineer something that means something on a very deep and profound level that also has to do with shared and collected energies that are very secret in nature, but have to do with the Shakti or the power to awaken and to bring forward deep spiritual insights, and also through the Lion's Gate trigger for you a huge alchemical change where the world is being transformed through fire, okay? Through the heat of that, essentially, glass emerges, okay? Which allows for a way to become focused, a way to see the light, a way to come very deeply into the prismatic way of reification and essentially enlightenment if you want it. And you are being supported on this path, I would say. Um, whomever you're dealing with also. There's something about this that has to do with the seventh house and the eighth house. Okay. And they're somewhat your counterpart. Somewhat. Complicated. So we will move now into the 9 card spread known as the Great Mirror. I'll be adding 2 more cards for the bridge uh, sort of connection in the subconscious, unconscious realm. And we'll go ahead and see what's going on for the month of September. Now, this is a tool known as the Great Mirror, and essentially it takes karmic resonances, modes of perception from one to another, and sees how we have the opportunity to see how this sort of pans out. This is also timeless, but we'll go ahead and use the month of September as a sort of centripetal energy. Okay, so first things first. Four of Pentacles. Cancer, Virgo, Aquarius, Scorpio, Virgo. You're dealing with someone here who is very independent, for one thing. They also have a parallel way of doing things. In one, in one mask, I want to call it a mask, they they execute a lifestyle that is individualistically their own. In another mask, they also have this sort of polar opposite of that. It's like one mask is happy, the other mask is sad, and together there is this sort of blurring. They walk in between realities or universes, and they manifest something of force. Okay, through the energy of the Strength card. So they may see you, and please don't take this in any negative way, as someone who's dealing with the 8th house. Also, they represent something of the 8th house. Also, the 5th and the 11 are strong within what I'm saying. And on a conscious level, they take in anyone. They take in anyone in terms of their own demons, and they treat them in such a way in order to produce an effect. Okay, it's a humanitarian effect. It's also something that they do in terms of finding their own strength. They find strength through helping others by bringing in something. Okay, now there is a strong way that you are manifesting in this connection of a way of thinking, a way of thought that brings forward a singular ray of truth. Okay, a voice. The irony is that this voice cannot be expressed very well, and the Two of Swords, it very strongly sort of brings forward this this sort of plasticity about you. Okay, so immediately from first sort of viewing the mirror, there is a sense that things cannot be trusted. There is a lot that has to do with independence as a motif, meaning trying to be independent as opposed to codependent. But at the same time, there is this attraction that sort of repels both of you. There's a lot of strong-willed, strong opinions. The mind and the conscious, the mind essentially gets in the way of this connection on both sides. It causes or creates or triggers a fear, and it feels like what they have to deal with is your shadow. At the same time, they're dealing with their own shadow, something about them that is very strong. Something about you that's very strong, but at the same time, it's like going out to a hunt and not finding itself, and instead going to a shop to find faux fur, which is like, something that is artificial to sort of supplement a coat that is needed during winter or something on a very primalistic level. There's something also about, let's see here, it would be the 8 of Swords. It could be that something about this connection symbolizes fear of escape, fear of coming back also to certain things that need to be taken care of, checkpoints that need to be sort of double checked, and then it becoming too cumbersome. Now we'll go deeper. So on the very deep and profound level, what I'm seeing here is an inability for someone to give love on their end, but also clear judgment on your end. Okay, with Judgment card, this usually has to do with reanimation. They're bringing forth of past life connections, karmic in nature, and trying to deal with these, settle with these through the energy of the sun. And I think it's something that you should consider, in that sometimes the sun's energy must be sacrificed in order to produce the next sun, the re-emergent sort of energy of the sun, which is a pranic force. It's a life force. And in this respect, the connection is somewhat anemic. the blood is lost. It's not here. It can't be used in order to produce an effect. Now, all that aside, we have a meeting of the minds here in terms of the bridge placement of the King of Swords and the Queen of Pentacles. Okay, so both of these figureheads, they both block but also support the connection. They catalyze it in terms of transformational quality or the content that emerges. On one end, it's feminine earth. The other is masculine air. Okay, what emerges out of that is primarily difficulty. There's sort of a floaty quality on one end, an intellectual on their end especially, and someone who needs to find foundation on the other. At the same time, within this foundation, there is an emergent quality of maybe this person is somewhat a part of the foundation, or they come out of it, they spring out of it, they reanimate through it. But then there's a need for you to sort of step back and, come up with a sense of truth or come up with a sense of understanding through it, becoming grounded. This symbolizes primarily the block that comes through Uranus and Taurus. Now, when the energy of Venus, which rules Taurus, and Uranus come together, usually it symbolizes a light connection, something that doesn't last very long. And it also comes out of nowhere. So you may be, for the month, encountering this type of person that seems to reemerge into your life or your lifestyle that requires you to call in judgment and to bring forward what really sort of serves as a structure for you to sort of walk through the gateway. It's very funny though, because with the Lion's Gate, the 8th house is triggered in last month's energy, and it carries on into this month. And it triggers other houses, but primarily it triggers this very strong primordial age to merge through the 8th house, to merge not only physically but metaphysically with another. And this could be stifling for the energy of Taurus, especially with Uranus and Rahu being strongly indicated through sensuality, through pleasure, and the 8th house also being through sex. So there's a possibility that there could be some form of chemistry here that may be hit or miss, very strongly hit or miss, but then it more hitting than missing. There also is a possibility of Sagittarius in reverse, Jupiter in reverse coming in strong. A sense of fear that what is expected won't be received, that the kind of love that is needed here cannot be alchemized. The three of Cups emerges out of this, okay? Which is like an unlucky Jupiter, something where Jupiter did not give you what you wanted or what you needed at the time for both ends. Very strong resistance in this reading. At the same time, there's a reserved quality with the Four of Pentacles showing up. In terms of advice, we have here the Eight of Pentacles, South Node being indicated strong here, conjunction with Mercury and Uranus. Mercury and a new moon. Okay. I do know that there's a new moon in Virgo and something else afterwards in the month of September. But at the same time, with the South Node, Scorpio is very much triggered. The 8th house is Scorpio rules the 8th house, and the South Node indicates, at least with this nodal placement, there's something about the realm of mystery when it comes to our past. And if things are coming from your past, excuse me, not only from the past in terms of a linear timeline, from our birth into, death, do us part, there's also something about the rebirth of certain cycles or certain archetypes from that plane, or the multi-dimensional capacities of that plane, to bring forward essentially connections or people who are meant to pioneer a very detached way of the 5 and the 11th axis. Okay, that's the house of excuse me, of Leo, and then Aquarius opposite to that. And with all this South Node energy in Scorpio, there's a chance to sort of bring forward karmic connections that need to be sort of leveled out. And the advice essentially is to take the Eight of Pentacles, which is what? Not working too hard on this, okay? Letting things sort of work themselves out through their own alchemy, through their own sort of intense secret and mysterious way of unveiling and transforming all of that energy, because Scorpio is all about sublimation. Okay. Um, that's the best I can give you. Now, if the Ace of Cups is here in the reverse, essentially, there's something here about not getting what is needed in terms of thirst. Okay, and there's a satiation of thirst. Okay. And on a very basic level, we need that. We need that. And it's important to know where you can find that, especially if it's in a connection away from this one. Uh, yeah, I do wish you well for September. Please take care now. Bye bye.